think the first thing that we all need to realize is that there's a lot of hype in the market. There's some incredible, fundamentally amazing things about AI, but there's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of people who are talking about it taking our jobs. At the end of the day, we need to remember that it's unlikely that AI will take our jobs. It's likely somebody using AI that will take our jobs. And so we all have a choice whether we decide to sort of be too scared of AI to touch it, or whether we sort of use it just like we accepted and used the internet, right? And we use smartphones, right? We have to choose to sort of use the AI and benefit from it, do our jobs better.
Hi, I'm Chris Parisi, host of the AI Wave podcast, the only podcast that combines the world of AI and business with a big focus on how Rhode Island can be the leader of it all. In this week's episode, we have Dr. Vineet Sinha. This man is not only intelligent, but really gets it, right? That artificial intelligence is only as good as we allow the humans to be part of it all, right? We want to make sure this technology is tailored to you and me and all of us together. So, I mean, this man, he got his PhD in artificial intelligence 20 years ago. So he knows what he's talking about, and he has a lot of great things to say, especially when it comes to education. Not only how to educate yourself about AI, but how to use AI in education, right? So it was a really great episode. I learned a lot. I know you're going to learn a lot. We're going to put some great resources in the show notes as well. So get ready and stay tuned for the next episode of AI Wave. All right, welcome today. We have Vineet Sinha from the founder of i3 Labs. We're so happy to have you on the AI Wave podcast. Thank you, Vineet.
Thanks, Chris. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into a lot. So if the audience doesn't know, Vineet and I have been working for several months now when it comes to the AI front, the AI revolution that's been going on recently. But for you, you've been doing this for a while. I mean, you've got your degree almost, 20 years ago, your doctorate in artificial intelligence at MIT. Tell our audience, what led you 20 years ago to think about AI, and you thought about it so much that you're like, I'm going to get my doctorate in AI.
Yeah. I've always been one of those people that's been good with computers, but I've always felt like computers are kind of strange thing that they talk about in movies, like us becoming slaves to computers. I always felt like we were already slaves to computers. I really wanted to get computers to be smart enough to actually be our slaves. I spent undergrad understanding human psychology, all with the intent of making computers smarter.
Oh, wow.
And so artificial intelligence was part of that picture. I did some of that in undergrad, enjoyed it. And then, my PhD is in artificial intelligence, but it's more so about artificial intelligence and how people use it, because I say that AI has a very different common sense than humans have. And so you have to figure out how to sort of bridge that gap.
Does it have common sense?
I would say so. I mean, it means something slightly different, right? But I would say that it's got it won't be able to figure out some of the things that are obvious to you, but to it, its superpowers are different.
Right. I would say so. When you were younger, were you always interested in computers? Were you tinkering around with it? What led you to decide that you wanted your undergrad in computer science?
I was always very good with computers. I can remember doing stuff when I was 5 years old. My dad was, setting up a computer, and I'd enjoy summer vacations when he would go to work, and I could tinker and I could build with it. Yeah. I've always been I wouldn't say super passionate about computers, but good at it and wanting to use them to make people help people. So passionate about helping people, using this smart technology, smart thing out there.
Right. Okay. So that led you to then get that undergraduate, but then get that doctorate in not just artificial intelligence, but how we can use AI to help others.
Yeah. When I was getting into grad school, I noticed that there's so much work that had by then already been done in the AI space, and I felt like there was more that could be done towards actually getting people to use this stuff. And then so that's why I ended up, because there's so much space, so much stuff here, that I ended up doing my PhD in it.
Okay, and then did you apply that right away after MIT?
Yeah. So I mean, I had been doing AI stuff even before I went to grad school, little algorithms when I was in high school. My first job was trying different things. So definitely applied it. But what I did at MIT, I spun that off into a startup. I did my first 10 years after graduating, both my startup as well as helping a few other startups.
Oh, what was that startup?
The startup was focusing on how people explore very large information spaces.
Okay.
And specifically, I was focusing on, that's a very broad topic. I was focusing on programmers.
Okay.
So experienced programmers, how do they learn and understand a code base?
So the education, in a way.
Yeah. So that's been another side of me. I feel like education, how we learn and understand stuff, is something that like computers can do so much more with.
All right, cool. So before we kind of dive into education, you did mention something earlier that was intriguing to me, that psychology.
Yeah.
Right. So did you say you had some schooling with
psychology?
psychology?
I mean, so in college, I did I was debating whether I did a minor in psychology, but I did a bunch of courses in psychology. I'm married to a psychologist.
Oh, really?
Right now. Yeah. There's a lot about how the human brain thinks that's really fascinating.
I agree. I mean, I have my minor in psychology. I would have done more, but marketing is essentially psychology.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the two go hand in hand, but so does, I love how you have human psychology and artificial intelligence. And that seems to be like a theme for you really in your whole career.
Yeah. And so the perspective that I bring to AI is one about just working with humans, right? And there's of course a lot of people in the AI world who are very much about the algorithms. There's a lot. Algorithms are important, but a good algorithm that's just sitting out there and not actually being being used or being integrated into things just will fail.
And how can we think about education in the sense of how can we educate others about AI? How can we educate others to use AI and create products with AI? I mean, right now we're at this pinnacle point where because of generative AI, because of everything that's been going on in 2023, the world's going to be different, astronomically over the next several years. And we're at this point where, similar to when the internet started, where you have these people like, this is interesting, but a little scary, and I don't want to be bothered with it. But soon, little do they know, they're going to not have an option. It's going to be part of everyone's everyday life. How do we educate, whether it's the common person that's not necessarily using AI for their job currently, or do you want to kind of talk about how can we educate businesses and aspiring folks in any space looking to utilize AI for their career?
I mean, there's so much there.
Yeah, I know. I did throw a lot at you.
Yeah. I think the first thing that we all need to realize is that there's a lot of hype in the market. There's some incredible, fundamentally amazing things about AI, but there's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of people who are talking about it taking our jobs. At the end of the day, we need to remember that it's unlikely that AI will take our jobs. It's likely somebody using AI that will take our jobs. And so we all have a choice whether we decide to sort of be too scared of AI to touch it, or whether we sort of use it just like we accepted and used the internet, right? And we use smartphones, right? We have to choose to sort of use the AI and benefit from it, do our jobs better. So there's a lot towards using, like understanding it and doing it, but but the first step is sort of using it, playing with it, getting a sense of it. Like I was saying, like computers and AI have a different common sense than us. Like just sort of getting a sense of where is it good at, what is it limited with, right? And so the first step, whether it's ChatGPT that anyone can get access to, or whether it's just that Netflix, like, liking something, or YouTube, liking a video, right? That will get you more personalized. Like get a sense of it, play with it, But without that, there's not much that can be done.
Right, because you need to have that base understanding of what it is, what it does, how it acts before we can start really taking that next step. And let's say if I'm a business and I'm looking to adopt AI and utilize it further, what types of advice would you give businesses out there? And a lot in our audience are wondering, how do I start utilizing AI, or how do I train my employees to utilize AI? And again, I'm saying it very broadly with different industries. So what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so the first bucket, as I said, is like, don't run away from it, sort of call it the crawl phase with AI. Get your team members, your employees playing with it, play with it yourself. Most products will likely have AI features.
That's true.
Try it, invest the time in learning about it. The learning is becoming more and more important with so much change. So that's sort of step one, is sort of play, get comfortable with it, find out where it's actually helping you, where it's useful. Step two is then thinking about how to leverage it with your products, how to provide more sort of AI-enabled services. What does it mean to add little bits to what you're doing already with AI? And then the step three, which I think honestly will take people like 5 to 10 years to get to, is what does it mean to rethink your business with AI? And then that's a bigger leap that...
Do you really think it takes 5 to 10 years, though, the way that things are changing so quickly? I mean, if I did that, my marketing agency wouldn't exist in 5 to 10 years.
So completely rethinking. Marketing is definitely a space that changes faster.
Yeah.
But if you look at past technologies and how they have been accepted, it takes a long time for, the gating thing isn't what technology can do. The gating thing is our understanding and society accepting it, right? This is an example. Insurance companies use a lot of paper, right? Like they can leverage the internet a lot, but there's a lot of processes where they aren't, right? And we can say that they haven't invested enough in using computers. Sure, perhaps, right? Or just like humans are a gating thing, their processes, their business value is also important. I mean, same thing with AI. The technology is going to enable a lot to happen. And it's rapidly changing, and companies need to definitely invest more in learning and figuring it out. But it's going to take some time for just sort of understanding what does it mean for my business to interact with your business in this new AI age, and what is society's perceptions with all of that.
Okay, that makes sense, especially for industries that aren't so AI driven, right? Like marketing is a unique case.
Yeah,
it's one of the top industries that are affected and impacted by AI. But and you mentioned this crawl, walk, run phase, right? So the crawl is playing with it, getting used to it, understanding it. The walk is actually starting to apply that knowledge.
Well, so actually, I mean, I would apply it in crawl itself.
Okay.
When I'm talking about walk, is like you have some services as a marketing agency, adding it sort of incrementally, AI-enabled features, AI-enabled services is sort of at the walk space. Like going all the way to thinking about how do you make money today, and how can AI sort of help improve your services? How can you make more money with AI, right? The running is like, how would you completely redefine your business, right? Because sure, you're a marketing company, but at the end of the day, a marketing company means just increasing awareness, right? And that might mean thinking more than, I don't know, YouTube and podcasts and all that, like, or ads. It might mean a hyper-personalized, education-driven marketing, right? Like whatever I would say education-driven awareness, right? And so redefining what your business means, like that's the run stage.
Okay, so it's that transformation stage.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That's a good model to businesses to think about as crawl, walk, run, right? Let's get used to the AI technology, then just figuring out within the walk phase of how we can optimize what we're currently doing. And then the run phase is let's transform what we're doing and thinking of it at a higher level.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I mean, you recently, was it recently you got the Learning Impact Leadership Award?
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago.
And what was that for?
So first 10 years of my career has been in startups. Then I wanted to work for big companies just to learn the best practices. Some of it, a bunch of it was in the education industry.
Okay.
And when I was working in the education industry, I noticed a number of challenges. One of the bigger ones is that AI and all these technologies, like they're only as helpful as the tools that can interact with each other. So it's worked on a standard for, and again, AI specifically needs a lot of benefits from a lot of data. So yeah, just we were looking at standards to get a lot of the industry tools to interact with each other. So I was responsible for a standard that we created with the top organization in the space and built some tools for them.
So you're helping out the education space using that AI, and that's wonderful. And that's something that you are, passionate about. Do you feel like where is it the most important for right now, the society as a whole, to really improve their education of AI? Is it at the K through 12 level, the higher ed level, or the business career level?
So there's two different questions here.
Okay.
There is help improve the education of AI, and then help improve education with AI.
True.
Very different questions.
Yep.
Which one are you?
More about the help improving education in general.
Okay, help improving the education industry. Yeah. So I think that this depends a little bit on a country by country basis, right? The biggest is the U.S. In this regards. I think there's a lot of bureaucracy in K through 12. There's lesser in colleges. But when I say bureaucracy, like the momentum from the fact that there's districts and there's standardization and so on. Important stuff, right? But I think that the space for innovation is more sort of in corporations that need to, ever since COVID hit, like we're become so much more digital society, their businesses need to evolve much faster, and education, it becomes that much more important. And whether it's like standardized education of any kind on a topic, or just learning what your coworker is doing, right? So education starts to become really important in the corporate world for professionals. Well, also like lifelong learning. There's a bunch of different things there, and so that's where I think innovation can happen, and then we can see what's working there, and then bring it down to colleges and K through 12.
Right. Okay, that's a really good point. Kind of see where the demand is, see where the opportunity lies,
See what's working.
and then work its way through K through 12, which will take a little bit longer to get through it, and higher ed as well. And I know here in Rhode Island, right, my passion is to ensure Rhode Island's that leading state in the AI-driven economy. And one of the key pillars is education, right? K through 12 and higher ed. And I know Rhode Island College just launched their Cybersecurity and Emerging Tech Institute that does incorporate AI, which is exciting that, Rhode Island, New England, I think New England Tech just announced something as well, and JWU has some programs. The higher ed, which is an important part of Rhode Island's growth, is incorporating AI into its education, which was kind of the second part of the question.
Right.
Are there any tools out there where, whether you're a young talent, a senior in high school, or someone in college, or whether you're in your career, are there any tools out there to really help educate people about AI, or how to use AI, or how to become an AI developer or a prompt engineer?
Yeah, well, so Yes, there's a lot, and each of those individual questions, like becoming a prompt engineer. I sent you a resource like 2 months ago.
Right.
There's a few really good sites. Being an AI developer, there is a few sources for that. There's a few guides online that I think are really good. So yeah, there are resources.
And it would be good if we can add
some links on
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So we're talking to our producer here in the background, Shay. It would be great if we can add those resources to the show notes in YouTube so that you can take a look at them and start learning maybe how to be a prompt engineer.
Yeah. I mean, prompt engineering is this fascinating new space that didn't exist before, right?
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunities. For the average person, I mean, I would just say, if you're a marketer, figure out your favorite tools and what it can do with AI, right? If you create designs, is there a new tool? Is there any AI features in that, right? Or is there a new tool, a new approach? Like Adobe has, I think it's called Firefly, right?
Firefly's built
like
within,
yeah, it's like completely. They've rethought how
Yeah.
AI can change the game, and then of course they've added AI features in Photoshop and so on. So I think that's where I would start with, like becoming more AI enabled. Prompt engineering, fascinating, incredibly important world. But don't forget the basics, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Sometimes it could be overwhelming. Let's say we have designers on our own team here, and telling them to start learning Python or how to be a prompt engineering may be a little bit overwhelming. But if you just say, hey, you're already using Canva, you're already using Adobe Creative Cloud, master the AI-enabled features and become a master at AI, but within your field. That's how you'll probably be most successful.
Yeah, and also when you do sort of prompt engineering, and again, totally worth doing. But when you're doing it, it has this additional challenge of figuring out how to make it be applicable to your work. So it is more challenging, worth doing. And also, there's a prompt engineering world, and then there's this new feature, that new thing that OpenAI launched, the custom GPTs.
Yeah.
Right, where they're essentially trying to make it easier so that not everyone needs to be a prompt engineer, so that you can take the insights from a prompt engineer, as a prompt engineer, put it into, package it into this custom GPT.
Yeah.
Right, and sort of make it easier for other people to use. So there's different perspectives that are coming, and it's a fascinating space.
We actually just create our own GPT, so you can check it out. We'll put that in the show notes as well. We built one for strategy, right? Like, how do I want to build a marketing strategic guide? So we built our own GPT for that, as well as a fun little one called Santa's Little Helper. If you're looking to figure out, what's a good gift to get to some folks, and maybe next episode we'll dive into the holiday spirit and show you how to utilize that custom GPT. But things are always changing.
Exactly. So this marketing strategy, you said custom GPT you guys created. Did you get anybody trying it? What's the feedback been?
Yeah, so we just launched it this week. Okay. And what we're going to do, it's in beta right now. So we have a private link sent out to folks that we want to have it test out. Okay. And then once we kind of work out the bugs and add some actions, as they call it, in the configuration, we'll then going to launch it publicly. So by the time this podcast launches, it should be public, so people can start utilizing it as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
I've been creating a few custom GPTs as well, partly to learn and understand the technology, and partly to help me with the stuff that I need to do.
Right, because if people aren't familiar with custom GPTs, essentially you could use ChatGPT normally, but you're kind of starting from scratch in a way each time. Well, if you're constantly using GPT for whatever it is, let's say you're a fitness instructor, and you know that you tell it how you operate your business and do your fitness, instead of every time telling it, all right, hey, make sure you use it for a gym that only has this equipment because that's what I have and bases this methodology that I use. You just create a little GPT version of yourself based on what works for you in your studio. And then when you input, let's say, client-specific information, to generate, let's say, a fitness plan for them, you already have everything pre-built. So that's what custom GPTs are essentially.
And not just that, like, you can build a custom GPT for your clients. You can of course build it for
True.
your own use. Yeah, I'm expecting there's going to be tens of thousands of custom GPTs out there.
Without a doubt. It's like the App Store when the
Exactly.
App Store started launch. And so there's a lot of exciting new trends that's happening with AI. And, there's one interesting thing is last night I was at Bryant University's Venture, basically young aspiring entrepreneurs. They had a little expo. And we had an intern, Nina, Fresh Kicks. I'll give you a shout out. She was there, so I went there to support her. But then I met a young man who said, "I was in digital marketing, getting my degree in digital marketing, and I switched because I felt like I wasn't going to have a career because of AI, and I switched to more of a CIS type role."
Interesting.
And I always thought that was very interesting. And when it comes to, like, let's say being an engineer, do you have any advice for engineers out there when it comes to maybe considering the human element? It's not just all about the tech.
Yeah. So that's a really important question. I've built a lot of stuff. And one of the things that I noticed sort of early in my career was that a lot of stuff failed. And then I dug up more, and there's a lot of products that people build that doesn't succeed, and that's fine. That's part of learning. But as engineers, it's important to realize that just building an idea in our head is not useful. At the end of the day, it needs to help somebody. This is extremely important as we try to do any kind of scale. You try to build a website. At the end of the day, well, you're not talking to the person coming on the website. So, like, is it helpful? Like, why is the person going to respond to that, right? You build an application, same question, right? Is this just a demonstration of some fancy technology like AI, or is it actually going to solve someone's pain when you're using this thing? And what I've found is that it is very easy, including for me, to get super excited with something. Custom GPTs or AI, whatever, right? To get super excited, to get arrogant with my ideas and say, no, this is going to change everything. And likely many of these things will, but many of these things are more accurately like diamonds in the rough. And you got to sharpen it. And the best way to sharpen it is by actually talking to people. You build something, ideally talk to them beforehand to see to see what is the right thing to be built, what variant of what you are thinking, and then once it's built somewhat, sit next to the person as they're sort of looking at it, trying it out, and of course, if you're in a good company that has like product managers or some other stakeholders, like lean into those stakeholders, figure out what makes what'll make it actually work, and don't lean in on your idea. Your idea is important, but it's also the people that you're using it to help at the end of the day.
That's a great advice for engineers or startup founders out there, is that your idea may be great, or at least you may think it's great, but if you're not providing value and solving problems for others, it's not going to be scalable. It's not going to succeed.
And it's not just for engineers and startup founders. I spent 10 years of my career in large companies. And they have a whole bunch of processes to help with this, but the problem is there as well. It is super easy, as it's a human condition, right, to get excited with what you're thinking, and to not sort of respect why it is important to help people at the end of the day with your work.
Right. I mean, I know Steve Jobs, his biggest thing was solving problems people didn't even know existed.
Oh yeah.
That's that next level.
Yes, exactly.
Is what he did, and at least just solve problems that do exist. That's step one. But if you can get to that next level of solving problems that people don't even know they had, that's really cool stuff. So this is great advice. I enjoyed this conversation, Vineet, and Vineet's definitely a resource if folks are looking to learn how do I adopt AI for my business, or how do I build education, even if it's nothing to do with AI, right? How do I build educational programs? Because you just, open my mind on a few things as well. Is there any advice that you would want to give our audience?
Yes. So one thing in all this noise that AI is bringing that's worth remembering is that we all have a superpower. There's something that makes us maybe that we're good at, or makes us get up from the bed, with a spring in our step. Don't lose that. When you are, you were telling that story about that, digital marketer becoming a CIS person, right? Like, yes, sure, but like there was something about you that made you want to be a marketer, right? Well, then now that you're coming into this world with so much noise with AI, figure out how you can bring that special thing in, because it is embracing new technology. It's also knowing what makes you special and making people happy at the end of the day. When these three things come together, there's some incredible stuff that happens.
Wow. That's exciting. That's great advice to give everybody, because everyone does have their own unique superpower.
Yeah.
If we just lean into that, leverage technology, and consider the human impact on it, we'll be our best versions of ourselves.
Exactly.
That's cool. Well, thank you, Vineet, for joining us today. I appreciate you taking out the time.
Yeah, glad to be here.
And if anyone wants to follow you or reach out to you, what would be the best way?
Yeah, so Vineet Sinha on Twitter. You can follow me. LinkedIn. I run a consultancy, i3 Labs. Feel free to find me there, and there's a mailing list that you can sign up for as well.
Awesome, great. Well, we'll put that in our show notes, and I'm sure they'll be reaching out. You may be getting some questions from our audience.
Yeah, glad to answer.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
That was another great episode. Thank you so much, Vineet Sinha, for joining us today. Learned a lot, and I really loved at the end, right, when he talked about how you have a superpower, and it's up to you to figure out what that is and how to harness it with AI. Like I always say, if you do what you're passionate about, the rest will kind of resolve and solve itself. So to figure out what that superpower is, and then apply AI to whatever that may be. Really appreciate Vineet coming over to the studio and recording this episode with us. And again, there's a lot of great resources to help train yourself and educate yourself on AI. So we'll put some in the show notes. So just look below, and then while you're looking there, feel free to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Share this with others that you think would benefit from it, and let us know your thoughts. Put in the comments. Was this a good episode? What was your favorite part? What was your favorite quote in this? And what are some things that you want to see in our future episodes? So thanks so much for joining us. We really, truly appreciate you listening and watching this podcast. And until next time, continue to ride the AI wave.